Anne and Amy. Love and marriage, indeed. I remember talking to Suzanne Venker several years back when she wrote this essay that broke through called The War on Men. And the thesis was modern women want to get married. Trouble is men don't. And you know why men don't, Amy?
Because they have to hang out with the woman.
Because you're at war with us.
Oh, we are?
You personally.
I've been accused of that at home many times.
Yeah,
My children always say that, oh, you're such a feminist.
Yeah.
I said, no, I'm not a feminist. I just want equal rights.
Right. And no one is opposed to that. That's the funny thing about the feminist left. And so that's why Suzanne Venker is so interesting and so unnerving to like the Susan Faludi, Naomi Wolf, Bella Abzug proteges of the day is because, she's really smart and accomplished, Princeton-trained lawyer, but she doesn't quite want to go the direction of pretending that gender doesn't exist. That's the interesting part. Suzanne Venker is a cultural critic. She's the author of the book, The Alpha Female's Guide to Men and Marriage, How Love Works. And I know I could use a little bit of love in my...
You could use a little love, yes.
And
it's too bad she wasn't here for the Jacksons.
Yeah.
Jesse Jackson Jr. and Sandy.
She'll have to do a follow-up book about how convicted felons can stay together.
It's hard on a marriage when you serve consecutive prison sentences.
There's no question. And that is only a substantial problem in the community in Chicago.
Well, and by the way, quickly, right after he filed for divorce against Sandy, he put on his Facebook status that he's separated within minutes. Because that's what you do.
Now, did he also update his Tinder /and/or Grindr accounts?
I don't know about that.
We're happy to be joined by Suzanne Venker now. Again, the book, her fifth, The Alpha Female's Guide to Men and Marriage, How Love Works. That's coming out February of 2017. You can, I'm sure, pre-order it at Amazon or SuzanneVenker.com. Ms. Venker, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
So this recent piece that you wrote that I read at the Federalist, the title of which, Why Acting at Home Like They Act in the Office Will Get Women Divorced. You write in part, women who can't find their feminine never find love. Please elaborate.
Yeah. So, first of all, that wasn't my title, just FYI.
Yeah,
a lot of
okay,
people
sure.
A lot of people don't realize that authors don't do it. So, the gist of the article is effectively that any successful marriage or relationship requires a masculine and a feminine energy. And that when you have two, and that's how I use the term in my book, alphas and betas, which is meant to be very loosely termed because no one's really 100%, or very few people are really 100% alpha or 100% beta, but I thought those terms were understandable by most people on what they generally meant. So the arguments that I make in the book, of course, is that, you put two alphas together and life is generally quite combustible. Mm-hmm. And if you put two betas together, very little gets done, which is one of the reasons why the masculine and the feminine are so necessary for a long-term relationship. And I liken it to a battery. You have a positive end and a negative, and in order for it to work, you need one of each. So it's the same general framework. And what has happened is that because women have become so, I don't know how you want to say it, overly developed in their masculine side, that they're struggling very much in their relationships, even though they're quite successful in other domains.
But sometimes we have to be because the men aren't pulling their weight. I mean, men on my block, they outsource everything now. We used to all shovel together and do the snowblowers together or rake the leaves, and now men just simply outsource everything. They don't do the work. They don't do the job.
You're a little. I can't exactly hear what you're saying. You're a little fuzzy.
I'm saying, but what do you suggest when an alpha female is paired up with a male, a beta male, but the beta male doesn't pull his weight,
yes.
for instance, doesn't do chores, and they outsource those chores, such as shoveling and raking?
So that's a great question, and it's one of the themes of the book, and that is an extremely common scenario today where you have more beta males than ever and more alpha females than ever. And what I'm saying is that's actually not a bad thing, that a beta male can be great, and a certain type of beta male can be really great for an alpha female. But you're right, it's all about getting that balance, because as you point out, when the alpha woman steps up too much and overpowers, if you will, or takes control, then the male backs up, and he sort of, in other words, he'll sort of rise to whatever level you're going to create. So if you sort of dominate or control, he's going to naturally either fight back, right, or he's going to step back. And that gets into the question of, what do you want from him? Do you want him to step back so you can do everything yourself, or do you want him to step up? I use the example of my own marriage in this book, because this book is very much like a memoir. It's kind of part memoir, part advice, and explains how I learned this myself the hard way, quite frankly. And I also had a very strong mother, and she had a similar scenario in her marriage, only she was never able to look in the mirror and sort of adjust what might not be so advantageous about her behavior or her personality that would then allow my father to be stronger. So this was always something that was very close to my heart. And as a natural alpha female myself, I didn't give it a lot of thought, but I just went about my business, right? And I have this fabulous husband, thank God. And fortunately, he and I have been trying to find that happy place. And that's really what the book is about, is trying to find that medium so that he is where you want him to be, and you and vice versa.
Well, so picking up on the cultural zeitgeist to, make to suggest women be more aggressive in the workplace, more in charge. There's a corresponding piece to that, and Amy's kind of speaking to it, as are you a bit, but it's the feminization of men. And you write, no relationship can be successful when a woman is more dominant than the man. When a woman takes control, all hell breaks loose. It goes against nature, which never ends well. So the feminization of men is a problem too, isn't it?
Right, and so that goes back into what we were saying before, is that the more dominant you are as a male, the more manly you become, then you're going to naturally feminize your guy. That's the masculine feminine energy that we began with. That is necessary for any relationship to work. So whoever steps up more, the other one's going to naturally step back. So that's fine if you like it that way, but research shows that that's not exactly what women are looking for at all. And I think when they got taught to be so masculine in their way, they didn't think about the flip side of that, what was going to happen with men, because nobody ever talks, certainly feminists don't talk about nature and the nature of man, the nature of woman. They think that's terrible. But if you recognize that that's just facts, you can't undo them, then there's going to be a natural result from your becoming so masculine. And when you have men who are so feminized, what we're learning is that, wow, that's not exactly what women want. So and being softer and being involved in home and all of those things are fabulous, of course. But you don't want that to turn him into the wife and you're the husband. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but
Yes,
there's a lot more stay-at-home dads than I've ever seen before in my lifetime. I mean, now they're on the PTA, they're volunteering at school, and their wives are the ones that are working.
There are, but believe it or not, it's only moved from about 2% to 4% of
they all live on my block.
parents.
Yes, right.
See, and that's what happens when you see a lot of it. It seems to sometimes, but you're right. You're absolutely right. It's definitely doubled in the past 15 years. However, it'll be interesting to see, how high that number goes. But what's interesting about it is that it's a forced scenario, in my opinion. It's society. I'm not dissing it. I actually don't have any issue with the dad stays home at all. I'm just saying that from a relationship standpoint, it's complicated.
I do. Get out and work.
Yeah.
No, if their wife is making more money, then it makes more sense for them to stay at home.
But down the road,
it's not just about money. It's not just about money, and this is kind of
about pride.
What you say. Work is soul craft. Yeah,
it's about identity.
Yeah,
it's about
that's
identity.
right.
Men will vet their identity by providing for women and providing for their wives and their children, and women get their identity primarily through their relationships. That's the difference between us that nobody wants to acknowledge, but it's just a fact, and there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. It's perfectly fine. But we've been so insistent about yanking it out of people like it's a bad thing when it's not.
What about all of it? Speaking of identity and gender and nature, What about all of the movement of the last couple of years towards kind of gender is a state of mind? And I can be can be one thing today and another thing tomorrow. Today I feel like this, tomorrow I feel like that. On Facebook, there's like 72 different gender identities and orientations.
Really?
And I'm not kidding.
Gross.
So what about that and how that impacts all?
That's definitely a conversation for a different day, but it is a huge problem, and it's not real. It's not factually correct. We are born with a biological sex. You can't change it. What you're effectively doing is saying you're a very feminized male if it's a guy, or you're a really masculinized woman, but you don't change from a woman to a man. It's not physically possible. But that's a whole other.
All right.
It's kind of an offshoot, I guess. I hadn't thought about it as an offshoot of this book, but maybe it is.
All right. I've just given you the idea for the 6th book. All right. She is Suzanne Venker, cultural critic, author of the book that's coming out February, The Alpha Female's Guide to Men and Marriage, How Love Works. Suzanne Venker, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And she joined us on our turnkey DAP Pro Alpha Female Answer line.
Yeah.